Shalom, my name is Rabbi Itzhak Shapira and I'm the author of the Besorah According to COVID-19. So we're watching some of the events that are taking place in the world right now around different variants and mutations. People ask me to explain the spiritual aspects behind those mutations and viruses. We all know that everything that is happening on the physical world has a spiritual implication behind it. In early 2020, when I wrote the Besorah According to COVID-19, I spoke about the code that Moses left us for the last names around the variant, understanding the variant and the mutations. Yes, indeed, all of those things are founded in the page of the Torah. And today, in this important message, I'd like to open to you the Besorah According to COVID-19 and explain those things to you so that you will open your eyes. As you know, the word COVID-19 is a difficult word. It does not allow us to promote the book because of this word, and we've been censored and banned by the various social medias. We're asking you today, because this is not a conspiracy theory, this is the Bible and the Word of God, to truly share this message and like it. Now, the Besorah According to COVID-19 is available in English, it's available in Spanish, it's available in Italian, French, it is now available also in Korean, German, and Portuguese. So please, spread the word around, get the virus. We need to beat the virus and the speed that is spreading in spreading the truth of what God is calling us to do and what is the origin of these mutations that are spreading all over the world. I hope that today teaching will truly convict you and minister to you. Please share it everywhere. God bless you, and we pray that in the last days we all gain great understanding of the time and the season that we are living in. Shalom, everybody. So I want to take with you a step back and look with you together in understanding the mutation and understanding what is God is doing in the world right now. You will excuse me, I will be a little bit more informal today because I have in front of me my own book, and I want to make sure that I can articulate to you everything that I wrote and about this particular section so that we all understand it to get today together. May we gain understanding together. In order to understand and gain the understanding of what God is doing in the world, we need to understand one principle that is critical. And I want you to get this principle really, really good. God is sovereign. There is no force in the world today that come and supersede God. Not Satan, not anything else. But there is one force in the world that influences God. There is one thing that influences God. And you see it all the way back in the days of Noah. When Noah went into the ark and then it came out, it says in the Hebrew, God says, wow, it literally in the Hebrew said, wow, God was saying, what was I thinking? Thinking about destroying human race. It's almost that it is not that we have power over God, we don't, but we have the power to influence God's decisions. And this is something really important that all of us have to understand. What we do here on earth today friends, brothers and sisters, is influencing the heaven. It's like a ping pong. So what you are sending down from here today, we're sending a beacon to heaven that can bring either judgment or can bring either mercy. Okay, either one can be brought down. And God says that he's using whatever this ping pong effect, he's going to bring either judgment of mercy for the purpose, this is important, to reconcile with us. So even when God says judgment, and even if God says mercy, at the end of the day, it is for one purpose. It is for reconcile with us. Look what the scripture says. Let's go there together. A verse that I quote again and again. It's found in the book of Isaiah. He says, Yotzer or boreh choshech, oseh shalom, hu boreh ra. Ani Adonai oseh kol ele. I form light and create darkness. I make will and create evil. I am the Lord who does all of those things. The word I actually want you to focus on is this word, Ani Adonai. Now, you are very familiar with this name, the name that we don't pronounce, that made out of those 4 letters, Yod, Hey, Vav, A. Now, when we talk about Yod, Hey, Vav, A, we need to understand something about Yod, Hey, Vav, A. It's a name that represents an attribute of mercy of God. Yod Hey Vav A, Bayom Hahu Yeh Adonai Echad. It's a Yod Hey Vav A, like in the book of Zechariah. It's a name that comes to represent an attribute, friends, of mercy. The name Elohim, on the other hand, is the name that comes to represent an attribute of judgment. So there are different aspect to God. He's called Elohim, he's called Yod Hey Vav A, he's called El Shaddai. All of those represent a different part of God's character. But when we talk about Yod Hey Vav A, everybody needs to understand who God is in the end. He is a God who is full of mercy. And does he have a judgment power to him? Yeah, he's a judge too. But if you want to understand God, God is a God who wants to reconcile with his own creation. Okay? He created Adam and Eve, and they went away. So what does he want to do? He wants to reconcile it. So he's trying it sometimes with the lack of mercy, sometimes with the act of judgment, but it doesn't change who God is. God is a good and God is a loving God. Which begs the question, well, how come, excuse me, let's get it again. How come a loving God will bring in the word here in Hebrew that I am pointing to now is the word ra. It's evil. Here in English, it's translated to the word will, but how come God is creating darkness? How come he's creating evil? You have to understand something, that those tools of evil, of will, are some of evil and darkness are connected to Yod Hey Vav A in some sort of a very unique way, which is really, really important for us to understand. It's the name of God, okay, this is very important, that are going to bring mercy to the world. God uses those things, catastrophe, tragedies, to bring us closer to him. Now, does God want to use those rules? No, he doesn't want to use those tools that are in his arsenal. But if people do not return, because his desire, it says in the book of Zechariah chapter 8, it says, Chamati, I am in heat, I am in fire for Zion. Now the word Chama can mean red, but it also can mean closeness. I am so hot, I want to be next to somebody. I want to have a physical intimacy with them, but I'm also angry at them. You see, so God has those two attributes to him, and we have to understand that those two attributes are working together here. So what is God's purpose? God's purpose is very simple. His purpose is to reconcile with all of humanity. And that's why he makes his plan very simple. I want you to see this and notice The plan of God is the plan of God, and we cannot change it. And he says here, Va'asu li mikdash ushachanti betocham. This is found in Exodus chapter 25, verse 8. They are to make me a sanctuary so that I will live within them, that I will tabernacle within them. So what's God's plan? God's plan is very simple. I want to tabernacle with you. Now, you can call it a lot of things. You can call it a mikdash. You can call it a tabernacle. You can call it a temple. You can call it an ark. But all of those things, at the end of the day, they represent the exact same thing. A place where God wants to come and tabernacle with humanity. What God is seeking is reconciliation. The rabbis of Israel teach us that the Mikdash, one of the names for the Mikdash, is the word for world. It's the world. The world is called a Mikdash. Why? Because God says in Psalm 33:6, he said, I've created everything. I've created the universe. I've created the world. He is the creator of all things. And he says to Israel, make me a place that is acceptable for me to tabernacle. Now, if the world and the inhabitant of the world, you and I, are representing today the Mikdash, because remember, it says, in that day, the Lord will be one, his name will be known, his name will be known throughout the world, throughout the land, throughout the universe. If his name will be known everywhere. And today, a piece of the world, an area in the world is defiled, is not clean, is not kosher. Can something holy, like God, can come and tabernacle with something unholy? And the answer is, of course not, because God is holy. And he's going to be tabernacle only in a place that is holy. So what God does in the world? What is the premise of Besorah According to COVID-19? The premise is that God is going to, and now the Rivkah remnant, God is going to choose a remnant that have a job. And you check this out. Here's the job of the remnant. They are the cleanup crew of the universe. You want to know who and what is the remnant? The job of the remnant in the last days is to clean up the spiritually, to clean up and make a way for him. And that is exactly why he said in Isaiah, clean up, make a highway, move the debris, move the road. We are cleaning up the Mikdash and the world. This is who is going to be the remnant. You're going to hear me talk a lot about this, about the Rivkah remnant. The job of the remnant is to make the necessary repairs, the necessary tikkunim, in order to clean up, okay? And here's the question that you have to ask yourself. Okay, I want to clean up the world. What is the tool? How do I clean up the world? How do I do a tikkun? I want to be part of the tikkunim. Isn't it interesting that we're going from Vayeshev to Miketz next week? Miketz, the end. You sit down, you're not cleaning anything. Exactly, in Shabbat morning, Friday morning, before Shabbat, Itzhak Shapira, my son, know that he get up in the morning and he assists Rabbi Shapira in all clean up activities that is assembled with associated with Shabbat. Why? Because the rabbis teach us that one who doesn't clean up on Friday before Friday Eve does not get to eat on the Shabbat table. You follow it. Sitting down is not an option, especially if you are called to be part of this remnant. Friends, we need today, I want you to pay attention, because I'm going to decode for you what's happening right now with this variant, so that you will understand it through a spiritual lens, through a spiritual understanding. So he says to Israel, again, let's look at the language that he has given Israel. He says to Israel, build me a mikdash. Now, let's break down for a moment this word mikdash. And if you want to clean up something, well, guess what? You have to have the right tools. The right tools to clean up. You cannot clean it up the way you want it. You need to clean it up the way God wanted to be clean in order to the tabernacle in it. So the Mikdash represent the place where God is going to set his kingdom. Remember, there is a kingdom from above and a kingdom from below. And those two kingdoms are going to come together. Now here in page 120 of Besorah According to COVID-19, I wrote, interestingly enough, the Hebrew word mikdash is composed of two words, and we have to break them down. This is page 120 if you want to make yourself a note. It's composed of two words. The first word is the word kadosh. The second letter, the third letter, and fourth letter is the root of the word kadosh. And the first letter, mem, is represent the malchut. Mem is also the letter of the Mashiach. So the mem represent the kingdom, malchut. Mem is the letter for the Mashiach. The kingdom, so there is a formula here that I want you to hear and understand. The kingdom of the Messiah is going to be established through Kedusha. Through Kedusha. You see, Kuf, Daled, Shin. And in the second that we are removing the letter Kuf, we will remove the holiness, and now we still want to build the kingdom because we still have the mem, we still want to build it, but without the holiness, we are ending up with Shin, with mem, and with Dalit. What do we end up with? We end up with chaos. We end up with distraction. We end up with catastrophe. If there is no holiness in the world, and this is very important for all of us to understand, if there is no holiness in the world, if we are lacking holiness in the world that we are living in today, any attempt for a tikkun even will end up in a disaster and a chaos. That's why I believe that the message today is have to be a message of holiness, returning to holiness. Now the question becomes, how does one return to holiness? What, you just wake up in the morning? Listen to what it says in the Baraita, page 121 of the Besorah According to COVID-19. It says, it was taught in the Baraita by Rabbi Benea, who would say, anyone who engages in the Torah for its own sake, says Torah is a measure of holiness. Okay, so his Torah study will be like an elixir of life to him. As it is stated, it is a tree of life to them who lay hope or hold upon him. And it is also says, for everybody who find me, find life. And anybody who engages in Torah, not for its own sake, for self-recognition, his Torah will be like a elixir of death for him, as it is stated, my doctrine shall stop and will drop, will cut off as the rain. And the cutting off means nothing more than killing or chopping of your own head, as it is stated on the heifer, Arifah, the cutting of the neck of the heifer, there in the valley, in Deuteronomy 21:4. The question need to be asked, if God will do everything. This is the question that everybody have to ask themselves and say, how far God is going to go in the world today. How far is he going to go in order to tabernacle with men? How far is he going to go in order for the mikdash, the world that we live in, to become truly holy, so that the two kingdoms can match? How far is he going to go? Is he going to go as far as to send a virus to the world that's going to kill a lot of people, to cause the rest of us to make a teshuvah? Is how many mutations have to be sent into the world in order for us to reconcile and prepare the world? That's the question that you have to ask yourself. How far God's going to go? And this is exactly what I talked about in page 124 of the Besorah According to COVID-19. God is going to go as far as he have to go in order to reconcile with humanity. Does it mean that's going to be pain? Is it going to be suffering? The answer is yes. I want you to hear first this narrative in its entirety, as I recorded it in page 124 and 125, so that we understand today I want us to understand this mutation, because truly Moses has been prophesying about them. And you're going to see it here in the text. It says, when you enter to the land of Canaan, that I will give you as a possession. So it's before the entering into the land, before the Geulah. And I will inflict, I want you to listen to the language, I will inflict an eruptive plague upon a house of Israel to the land that he is going to be possessing. The owner of the house shall come and tell the priest, saying, something like a plague has appeared in my house. The priest shall order the house to be cleared. Before the priest enter, they examine the plague, so that nothing in the house may become unclean. After that, the priest shall enter to examine the house. If, when he examined the plague in the walls of the house is found to be consist of greenish or reddish streaks that appears to go deep into the wall, the priest shall come of the house to the entrance of the house and close up the house for 7 days. On the 7th day, the priest shall return. If he sees that the plague has spread on the wall of the house, and I want you to underline those words, if, and you need to ask yourself, what is the if is all about? The if is related to the mutation, as we're going to understand in a second. The priest shall order the stone with the plague in them to be pulled out and cast out to the city to an unclean place. The house shall be then scraped inside all around, and the coating that is scraped off shall be dumped outside the city to an unclean place. They shall take other stones, then replace those stones with them, and take other coating and plaster them to plaster the house. If the plague again break out of the house, and the stones have been pulled out, and after the house had been scraped and replastered, the priest then come to examine. If the plague is spreading to the house, it is malignant eruption in the house, it is unclean. The house shall be torn down. Its stones and timber and all the clothing of the house were taken to the unclean place outside the city. Whoever entered the house while it is closed up shall be unclean until the evening. Whoever sleeps in the house must wash the clothes, and whoever eats in the house must wash his clothes. If, however, the priest come and sees that the plague has not spread in the house after he replies, then they announce the house to be clean and the plague to be completely healed. Friends, in these verses, we are seeing the complete picture of what's happening in the world. The very first question you need to ask yourself is this: what is the source of this leprosy that is presented in the text? Where is it coming from? Why is it speaking about this before they are entering into the land of Canaan? The rabbis of Israel come and tell us, this is a text about the last days. Are you hearing what I'm telling you? This is a text about the end times and the last days, and we have to understand it in that context. When they enter into the land, there is a Geulah. That's a picture of the complete and utter redemption. But before Israel can receive the complete redemption, the complete Geulah, they need to remove something from themselves. It's leprosy. It is found where? In the house. Today there is a leprosy that is found in our house called the world, the universe. And the rabbis of Israel tell us what was exactly present there. And you listen to what Midrash Tanchuma says. He says this leprosy come upon us in one of those 11 things: for idolatry, for cursing or blood, for cursing the name, for unchastity, for theft, for slander, for false witness, the judge who perverts justice, for swearing falsely upon one who entered the domain which is not his, upon one who thinks false thoughts, and one who instigates quarrel among others. And some also say for the evil eyes. All of those things take place. And friends, I want you to understand that all of those things that we are reading here about that take place, they're physical things. There is a real leprosy in the house. But the rabbis of Israel said to us, no, the real cause of those things is a spiritual cause. There is a spiritual reason behind this. And all of those things that I just read to you, friends, I want you to understand something. They have today a stronghold in the world that we are living in today. The formula before the redemption exists today into the world. It's existing today into the world, and we need to understand it and see what we have to do in order to deal with this. The very first thing that I want you to notice here in the text is this word that the Hebrew language is used to describe the plague. The word here in the Hebrew language that is used to describe this plague is the word unetati. The word netati come from the Hebrew word Natan and also from the word Matan. It's all evolved around those three words. Natati, Natan, Matan, which speaking about a gift. So really the way the text is being read here, friends, is I have given you a gift. Listen carefully. This is what the Holy Tongue is saying. The Holy Tongue is saying, I have given you a gift of eruptive plague. Are you hearing what the Torah just says about this leprosy? They are about to enter to the land, and the Torah is saying, I am going to give you an eruptive plague. Let's call this eruptive plague today the COVID-19. Can we change the name? Can we call it COVID-19? Maybe you still don't believe that this is an eruptive plague. It is an eruptive plague. Without a doubt, it is an eruptive plague. But God's saying, and I want to be sensitive because I lost people that I love dearly. And I don't want to be insensitive to anybody here who lost loved one and maybe even dealing with the COVID-19 today. But look at that in the sense of entire humanity. Israel is about to enter into the land to experience redemption. But God says, not so clear, because there is something that is not right in your heart. So I'm going to send you a visible sign. And you have to understand something, what the Hebrew says here. That the visible sign of this leprosy, of the tzara'at, was like this greenish, ruddy color that was on the wall. It was very visible. Today, nobody can ask the question, well, this virus is not very, this virus is extremely visible today in the world. And we need to stop the nonsense and understand that it's extremely visible, but it is called here as a gift. God is calling it a gift because he wants to come and tabernacle. When Israel entered into the land, it means that he is tabernacle with Israel. He wants to tabernacle with Israel. And here he is saying, I am going to give you this house. Now notice something. I am going to give you this land as ahuzah. The Hebrew word for God to describe the house today that is about to give us is a ahuzah. This is a picture. The word ahuzah is the picture of the kingdom. Basically what God is saying, I am about to enter into the land and I'm about to give you the kingdom. I am going to give you the keys for the kingdom. But here is the problem with this Hebrew word for kingdom. And I explain it very well in page 127. This word kingdom friends, is the also word for a stronghold. Now everything become clear. The word, I want to explain it to you one more time. The word in Hebrew, ahuzah, is the word for a kingdom. The Hebrew word is the word achizah, which have the same root. The word achaz is the word stronghold. What is the upshot? What can we understand from that? God is saying, I am giving you a stronghold, or I am revealing for you the stronghold in order for you to take care of this stronghold so that you can enter into my kingdom. We see it in this Torah portion this week. If you're down on you, if you ever stop and think, here we have Rachel, and we have Leah, and we have Yaakov, godly people. And look at the beasts that they raised up. How can a godly parents like that raise up such an animal? Have you ever stopped and asked yourself this question? How is that supposed to work? And why is it that it says that Israel, not Yaakov, when he's called Israel, he said he loved Joseph more than the other children? Is that sound to you right? That a dad would love the parents? Listen to me carefully. That a dad will love a parent, the children, or one child over another child. It doesn't make sense. Yet the Torah uses the name Israel, meaning that Jacob is operating as Israel. He's full of the Holy Spirit. You see, Joseph went to see them. And he gave back a report to his dad. It's a terrible report. It's a report of the other children who are taking live kidneys, live animals, live body parts of live animal and eating it, and they're bloody. And they're bloody, they're full of blood, they're cannibals. Did it dawn on you something in this story? That what you think Jacob didn't know what his other children are involved in? Of course he knew what they're involved in. It wasn't a new thing that they were part of those type of behavior. Where did it came from? See, it's come from a spiritual seed. And the spiritual seed that it's come from is their uncle Esau. Instead of taking care of Esau and reconcile Esau, Jacob did, he let Esau go. And this spiritual seed, our rabbis teach us, enter into the sons of Jacob. So here, Jacob, I want everybody to understand already, he lost his children already. Spiritually, he lost his children already before any of that started. So he's sending Joseph with a garment of many colors. Or in Hebrew, the word many color means reconciliation. He's sending him with a garment of reconciliation. But the garment of reconciliation didn't bring reconciliation. It brought the division. But everybody have to understand something. Like the COVID-19, the garment was not a real issue. The real issue, what was in their hearts. So Yaakov is sending Joseph to be this lamb that is being sent and sent down to Egypt. That's how we know that Jacob already knew that Joseph was in Egypt, because the text tell us that. The Torah, the Pshat, the literal meaning of the text tell us that Jacob know all the time where Joseph is. You see, the garment of reconciliation here in the text, all what the garment has done, it is a symptom of the stronghold that is found inside their hearts. And what did they have to do? They had to go and reconcile with Joseph in order to remove what was in their heart, in order to achieve real reconciliation. What had to take place? A real calamity, a real pain, a real suffering had to take place, just like we are dealing with today. The garment just brought the vision, but ultimately brought reconciliation to the world. The same is true to the COVID-19 today, and everybody needs to understand it. The virus is a very real, a very physical symptom. But friend, it is a symptom. It is not the root issue. The root issue is what found inside people's heart. And today we have to overcome this klipa, just as Jacob's son had to come the klipa toward Joseph. Listen to this. When Esau came out, what did Yaakov did? Yaakov grabbed the heel of Esau. Do you want to know what this word in Hebrew? To grab the heel of Esau. The word to grabbing the heel of Esau is the word achaz. It's the same word as the word stronghold. In essence, there is a linguistic clue that teaching us that Yaakov always has been under the stronghold of Esau all along. Jacob is under the stronghold of Esau because he grabbed him. That's why when you see him, you say, oh my master, oh my Lord. And today, under which yoke we are in? We are under the yoke of the kingdom of Esau today. The final yoke is the yoke of Edom, and here we are before Chanukah, and the only thing we need to talk about is how do we break the yoke? How do we break the spiritual, not just fixing the physical? People ask me all the time the question, are you for, are you against the vaccine? Give me a clear answer. Here is the clear answer that you have to understand. If we are dealing with a symptom and we are not dealing with the root issue, then guess what? Get ready for many, many, many more mutations and much, much more. The real issue is the spiritual aspect of what is happening right now inside people's heart. And we have to make a choice right now. How are we going to make the tikkun? How are we going to go and recruit Joseph? How are we going to go back to bring back Joseph, back to Jacob or not? This is what is happening in the world. Look where the variant showed up. South Africa. The most probably one of the most anti-Semitic countries on the face of the earth. Do you find it to be a coincidence? No, not at all. One who stand against the Son of God, Israel, and one who stand against the Son of God, Mashiach, is going to deal with those things. We have to understand the spiritual reality behind those things, friends. And here there is a step of rectification. But I want you heard what I read in a second ago with this full passage. Did you hear how many times the word if used? Why? Because the word if depended on the dweller of the house. It's dependent what the dweller of the house are doing. Today the ball, as they say, the ball is in our court. This is not in God's court. And if we're just going to look to fix the symptom, Pfizer announced this morning, oh, we already started to work on this. You don't even know what you're dealing with. Do you think this is the solution? Why, if I say today I believe in science, it's a code word to say there is no spiritual implication and ramification to this virus that have to do with the consequence of our actions. Do not discount God and do not take God out of this equation. God wants to tabernacle with us today, and He is going to raise up a cleaning crew. He is going to raise up a remnant today for these last days. And are you going to be part of this remnant? If you are, you have to follow those steps. You have to break this stronghold from your leprosy today. We call it a klipot in Hebrew. The number one thing that we have to do today is we have to purify the Chanukah. We have to purify the menorah. We need to make sure that the right oil is going to it. Chazal teach us that if the wrong oil would have gone inside the menorah, it will break down completely. It will shut down and break down and destroy the temple, the Bet HaMikdash, and even Yerushalayim itself. It has to be the real friend. It has to be the authentic thing. Anybody who is not authentic in these last days will perish and will not be able to overcome the travail of the Mashiach. So we're seeing this here in the text so clearly. Look at this word. Where is this yoke of Edom coming from, right? The last yoke today is the yoke of Edom. And listen to what it says. And then excuse me. Then his brother emerged, holding on to the heel of Esau, so that they named him Jacob. Isaac was 60 years old when they were born. And what it says is in this, and his hand holding on. You see this text, holding on. Look at this Hebrew. Aleph, in yellow, Chet, and Zayin. What is the word Aleph, Chet, and Zayin? I want to show you. Hold your thought. Aleph, Chet, and Zayin. What is the word that's used to describe the stronghold? Aleph, Chet, and Zayin. Aleph, Chet, and Zayin. The kingdom, excuse me, excuse me just for 1 second. Thank you. The keys for the kingdom is this mystery in our ability to come up and overcome the stronghold of Esau. To being able to overcome the stronghold of Esau is the key today in overcoming and entering into the kingdom and establish the kingdom of God. Are you hearing what I am explaining to you? And here, God is telling us step by step. Friend, this is when I lost my voice completely. That's why I'm so frustrated that the Besorah According to COVID-19 not getting more people of God. Pay attention. Look at what God is telling us here. Let's go through those steps together, because today is going to be the last message I give you in 7 weeks, and I want to make sure that you're walking out of this message today in complete understanding. So step number 1, we talk about this first number 1. Write yourself in the note on step number 1, and I'm going to give you is understand there is a plague. And to understand that this plague has to do with each and every one of us, okay? Make yourself a note. This plague has to do with you and I, and our conduct, our slander, our lashon hara toward one another, and all of those things, slander, false witness, it has to do with each and every one of us. Step number 2, look what the text is telling us, friend. Beloved, let's look together. It says the owner, let's read together. The owner of the house shall come and tell the priest, saying, something like a plague appeared upon my house. This is important phase. During this time, we have a responsibility to call upon God. Our number 1 job today, brothers and sisters, is to call upon God. Understand, something is not right. Isaiah chapter 22 said, hey, we need to go on top of the rooftops. And we need to cry out to God, and we say, hey, wait a second, something is not right here. Something is not kosher. There is a problem. Houston, we have a problem. Our job today as the remnant, if you want to become part of the remnant, who's looking to fixing the house before entering in, is to understand something spiritually not right today. I'm sorry, there is something spiritually not right in Austria today, that they force every human being to be vaccinated by a virus that they don't even can contain at this point. Do you see what's happening? It is going to either bring a calamity or is going to bring out the remnant to understand the reality that God is speaking to us today, and He is speaking to us today, to this remnant. The question is, are we aware? This is important. Listen to what it says in Hebrew. It says, Harei hu kmo האוחז ברגל חברו, שלא ילך הלאה. כך מונע הוא גדולת This is important. This alert, let me explain this expression to you, is an alerting that say to others, not just to others. That's our job today, friends. To broadcast, especially to the world today, to your friends, to your family, say to them, hey, something spiritually is not right in the world. Grab Esav. Don't let to get Esav another foot. That's what it says. He is grab the foot of his brother, that he will not continue to go in the same path, so that Esav will not be exalted in those days. You see, there is a battle right now that is going to be taking place between Esav and between Yaakov, between the remnant and between the spirit of the anti-Messiah. This is the battle, and the battle is on right now, because Esav wants chaos. He wants to see this leprosy spreading. That's how we thrive. That's how Satan is thriving in the world, through chaos. And look at the chaos he's brought to our organization the last 48 hours. But look at this. There is order. There is order with God. The broadcasts are going on. Chanukah is being observed. Chanukah is being heard. There is more outreach than ever before. That's why it's so important for you to share and to like and to speak out and broadcast and put on your Facebook. I see what we put on the Facebook. We put on Facebook nonsense. Put the book, put the Besorah, instead of getting people the TVs and these. Invest in understanding spiritual matters right now, friends. We have to understand. We have to alert the world. The job of the remnant is in the alerting right now of the world. Are you slumber or are you alerting the world right now? We have to grab the heel of Esav. He said, Esav, no more. You have gone so far. That's why in Deuteronomy chapter 7, it says, the delay. In the day, the delay stopped. Look at this. This word in Hebrew, delay, is equivalent to the word heal. It's equivalent to the number 172, and it's equivalent. Listen, it's an equivalent to the numbers of words in the 10 Commandments, 172. And what today going to happen? He is trying to ekev you. And what is the word ekev mean? The word ekev mean mirma, deception. I don't know about you, but I feel that we're being deceived over a lot of things right now. Not just on the physical level, but also on the spiritual level. We are being deceived. And part of this remnant, this one go to alert Mashiach, alert the world, alert the house, is a person who is spiritually attuned. Stop looking at a quick solution here and understand Yeshua is coming soon. Yeshua is coming soon. And he's going to consume this world. Those who are consumed by being the remnant and building a house for them, and the rest is going to be consumed like in fire consumed. How much more do we have to go through? Look at the third step. Is that sound familiar to somebody? The third step says, the preacher come out of the house, to the heaters of the house, and close up the house to the 7 days. The Torah even prophesies about the lockdown. Make yourself the note of page number 128. The Torah prophesies even about this lockdown. But here's where the scary part comes. Are you following? Here is where the scary part that I want you to pay attention to come, because we need to get on the guard. We need to start to alert every human being on the face of the earth to make tikkunim today and not to sit back, not to slumber today. This is not the time, beloved. Because look at the very next step. We are partially have already entered into this phase, But look what it says. The priest, I'm calling reading with you, the priest shall order the stones with the plug in them to be pulled out and cast outside the city into the unclean place. I explained it, page 129. During the last days, and I quote, listen to this, during the last days, many stones will be removed. Many who were called great will be pulled out. The Hebrew word tameh represent a place of impurity, like hell. Even Ezra added that the verb mean to be removed, as in remove me from a violent man. Psalm 140 verse 2. As we see an increase in violence in the world. Hello, exactly. Even Ezra is telling us exactly what is going to take place, exactly what we're seeing in the world right now. We're seeing an increase in violence in the world. Where do you think this violence is coming from? This violence is coming from a very evil spiritual stones. How ironic it is that this week we're supposed to be in Zimbabwe. Those of you from Africa know what the meaning of the word Zimbabwe. It's mean the house of stones. And we're establishing a new stones. So what Satan is trying to do, he's trying to keep the old stones in Africa. He's trying to keep the old stones in Europe. He's trying to keep the old stone in Germany. He's trying to keep the old stone. But God says that those old stones are going to be removed. Our job today is to look and examine at the quality of our menorah, the quality of the Chanukah, the quality of our life, and ask a question, am I a stone? Am I one of those Chanukahs that are fit to be lit by the Shemen Sasson, by the oil of the Mashiach? Are we? Or when he come and he put the oil, he said, whoops, it doesn't lit because it doesn't match me. Friends, you understand what he's going to do right now? He's going to chisel it out. And we started this process of chiseling. Does God like death? Does God love suffering? Does God love pain? No, he does not like those things. But at times he has to bring this in order to save humanity. And we have to understand what it is here. God is willing to go as far as, if you ask the question, how far is he willing to go? Excuse me. In the story of Noah, he kept one man. He kept, I said, wow, God, you're going to destroy all those people? Let me tell you something. God is so holy that if he have to, he will destroy all humanity. Even if you have 10, a million of 10 men, it's enough for God. Because he is holy, and we forgot that, and he will do that. He has to do it because he cannot tabernacle with an unholy things. And here they have an X-ray explain to us that in those days there will be increase of violence in the world, and this is part of the grand plan of what God is doing. But look at that. And friend, I'm telling you, run today. Immediately Shabbat is off over. Get 10, get 20, get 30, get 100. Rivkah, Remnant, you put it in the hand of every person. And I tell you why. Because there is a plan here. There is a plan here. He's saying, I'm going to take the stones. I'm going to throw them to a place of unclean place, but then I'm going to do something new. And this is a good news. God said there will be a remnant. Praise be to God. Listen, look at what it says. It said, they shall take other stones and replace those stones with them, and take other coating and plaster the house. So God is going to go through mutation process until he can find those stones. And in the book of Matthew chapter 12 verse 6, God says, I can use any old stone. Any old stone. Out of those stones I can raise children. Friend, I have been teaching this now for 2 years, and I feel with everything that is happening right now, we have to understand it. He's saying here that he is going to raise other stone. Listen to what it says, and I quote 129. It is obvious that the ultimate goal of God is to establish a house, and I don't want you to miss it. The ultimate goal of God is to establish a house that is fit to be established in the land, in the final Geulah, with Him. The job is not to destroy the house, not to destroy humanity, but to create a fit and holy house for Him. The new stone here in the text is also interesting. They're called acherim, acher or other, which speak about the uniqueness of those stones. Okay? We see this word acher mentioned, very interesting, with Joshua son of Nun. It says in Joshua son of Nun, he says he possessed ruach acheret, a different spirit. Those stones are not going to be the stone of the world. Those stones are not going to be the stones of Pfizer, of Moderna, or AstraZeneca. No, they're not going. This is not the cure. I'm not saying science cannot come handy. This is not what I am talking about. I'm talking about root cause. Understanding the root cause. You need to know the root cause. I challenge you to understand this root cause today. Ruach Acheret means that you don't belong to the world. You are outside the world. You are set apart. Today is the days we have to be set apart. And the more message of the Besorah According to COVID-19 is you can be set apart. The message of Rivkah Remnant is here is the tool. Here's what you have to do to be set apart. Don't miss this opportunity. To be set apart here, to be this Even Acheret, to be this other stone. This is important, friend. There is a preparation of a new house. God is doing a new thing. He is removing the old and is going to establish a new thing. I pray this upon each ministry today. I know there are some watching me today, they are ministers, and you're still in the old. Don't be in the old. Don't be in Egypt. It is time to come to the new, to the newness. And here it says this, listen to this, page 129, I wrote, in the last days, God will raise His true builders who will establish a house. The great Rabbi Even Ezra had the interesting comment. He said the word take and the word bring both appear in plural. Many people acting in unison, in unity, quickly. I want to stress this to you. What the Avraham Even Ezra say to us is so critical, is so important. He say that this word take and the word bring is a word of unity, of many people who are acting in one heart, who are acting in one accord. Who are those people? Those people are none other than the remnant. This is the picture of the remnant. Hey, this is not a cultural thing. Hey, this is not a racial thing. Get out of it. Don't make it a cultural thing. Don't make it a racial thing. Make it a God thing of people who are walking and living and building community together in oneness. This is the new stone. You want to know who's the new stone? The new stone are those who are working in unity with others. Not those who are going to build their own kingdom. Not those who are like a lone wolf. Not those who are seeking glory. We as a community are inclusive community. Ahavat Ammi ministry, Yeshiva Chubu is an inclusive community. Why? Because everybody can be part of the remnant. You don't need to run your DNA to be part of this remnant. You don't need to have a certain last name to be part of this remnant. But you do need to possess a different spirit to be part of this remnant. Beloved, here and what I am telling you today, there is going to be a new house. There's going to be an emergence of a new house through those things. But we have to be in unity. And this Chanukah, have to be one, not just in one accord of living and building a new Chanukah. A new Chanukah. I don't want the old Chanukah. Because when the new oil comes, why would I bring the new oil into an old Chanukah? I don't want to bring the new oil to Chanukah. Praise be to God. There are 25 new Chanukahs right now in Zimbabwe that never been lit before. They have never been lit before, and they're going to be lit for the first time in the midst of this new variant. Beloved, God has spoken to me that those new Chanukah are representing the remnant upon us today. Don't settle for these old Chanukahs today. I want a new Chanukah. In the name above all names, I pray that you're going to be those other stones. Look at what God is saying I'm going to do. I'm going to establish a new stone, a new plaster, a new thing. All of those greatness, they're not going to be so great. Those who are not great, they're going to rise up to greatness. Just like the Hashmonaim. Just like the Hashmonaim. They are going to rise up to greatness. In this last day, are you hearing what you said? God wants you to rise up. That's why it's called the good news of COVID-19. Somebody is going to be this other stone. The question today, is it going to be you? Are you going to be like this Rivkah remnant in these last days? They have to work in unity. But Evan is also telling me that they have to work quickly. Beloved, we got to stop dragging our feet. Move faster in these last days. The act of, listen to this, re-establishing an earthly tabernacle will be fast due to the calamity of the leprosy. This leprosy going to help us to move much, much faster. Because this is going to determine. Now listen to this, it says there in the text, and I want you to understand this. People ask me, how far? Here's the gist of this teaching right now. I want you to take a breath and hear, because I'm nearly out of voice. How far are those mutations are going to go? Listen to what I wrote in page 130. Go again and again and again and read it until you understand it. It says the step of cleansing the house will repeat again and again in a series of calamities. It is important to notice that the word if in this verse, this series of continuing plagues and birth pains of the Messiah is contingent upon our action. Let me read it to you again one more time. Mark page 130. This is what we have to tell the people of God today. And I quote again, the series of continuing plagues and the birth pangs of Mashiach is contingent upon our action. The Hebrew word here in the text is the word im. How long is it going to take to fix the house? God, is it just a little bit here and a little bit here? It depends on two things. We can make a tikkun here, but then a new leprosy appear here, and then a new leprosy appear there. It's like ongoing fixing. But what if we can fix the entire world around us? What if we can fix everybody? There will be much less for us to do. Because the house will be made whole and the house will be made complete. You have to understand something. We have to work quickly today on the tikkunim. And the tikkunim have to start inside the body of Messiah to lift out the ruddiness, the spirit of Edom, this filthiness that is found inside the house so that God can tabernacle with us. If not, just as the text says, the priest is going to come again and again and again with more mutation and more viruses. Each one of these mutations is going to get more and more and more significant unless, not just COVID-19, calamities in the world, the birth pains, unless we fix the problem. And you know what is the problem? The dweller of the house is the problem. The one who is sit inside the house is the problem. And the only way to fix is not to fix the simple, is to fix the dweller. And in order to fix the dweller, you have to make Ateshuva, Ateshuva. And that's why he says, whoever entered the house while it's closed up shall be unclean until evening. Whoever sleeps in the house must wash his clothes. And whoever eats in the house must wash his clothes. If, however, the priest come and see that the plague has not spread in the house, after that, then the Geulah, then the redemption will come. But in order for the Geulah to come, we must, beloved, we must today wash up, wash up. What is the message of Moses in the first Exodus, in Exodus 19? Wash up your clothes and be ready for the third day. What is the message to the world today for us? Wash up. Let's fix the builder. If you fix the builder, you're going to be fixing the building itself. Are you hearing what I am telling you today? But if we don't, more suffering, more calamities, more pain will come to the world. So in this last message that I'm going to give you for the next seven weeks, and I will be here with you, but I will not be able to speak very much. I want to tell you something. The light is holy. Yeshua is holy. He cannot come, his pure oil cannot come into a filthy house. It cannot come to a filthy Chanukah. So our job today, our purpose today, there is no other greater calling today than clean up so you are ready. Because it's going to come with oil, it's going to pour the oil. And if the oil doesn't work inside the Chanukah will catch fire, just as Chazal told us that if the oil does not the special holy oil, it would consume the menorah. In our case, it's opposite. Yeshua is coming as the King of Kings, and he's coming as the Lord of Lords, and he's coming soon. And for that today, we have to fix the builder of the house in order to get rid of the stronghold of this leprosy. That, as you see, Moses prophesies of the mutation and mutation and mutation. How long is it going to take place? What did Moses said? What did Moses said? Moses said, if. There is not an open answer. There's no dates, there are no times. Just as it said in the book of Matthew, that today nobody knows why. Because you choose. I choose. Together we choose. When the Geulah will come. When the Geulah come? When we have a remnant set apart. Set apart. Chanukah. Chanukah set apart. I remember the very first Chanukah that I've ever built. I was not more than 5 or 6 years old. And I remember what we ended up doing as children in Israel is taking a wood shop, taking a piece of wood and taking the cans of soda pops and put those soda pops and then glue them and put them together and then put a little bit of oil inside of those things. And boy, oh boy, I was so proud of this Chanukah. It wasn't the most glamorous Chanukah, definitely not the most beautiful, but it came from a place of the deepest of places, and it was holy, and it was set apart for God, and that's the way you should live your life. In simplicity, walking with God, walking with holiness. You might not understand everything, but build the best Chanukah that you can. Build the best house that you can, because your heart has been circumcised. And I promise, when Mashiach comes, and he's coming soon, your Chanukah as the remnant, without a doubt, it's going to be lit up. May it be lit up in the name of Yeshua. I hope that you understand how important it is to deal with the mutations here today in our hearts in order to see the physical symptoms stop. Let's deal with this during this Chanukah and look forward for the day that the Chanukah will be established again, the menorah will be lit again, and Mashiach will dwell again in Bet HaMikdash.